35% of the 1.4 billion people who are the African population are 35 years and younger. So the future is young. Does our education system prepare us for entrepreneurship? The answer is no. Otherwise, how would you explain that when I grew up, I thought the profession that was on the highest food chain was clinicians. Not in South Africa, but in Gauteng alone. 800 of doctors have completed their studies. They just need to do the 2-year community service. They're sitting at home unemployed. Because the Gauteng government says 70% of our budget goes towards paying salaries. Imagine for a second, and this is how sometimes we mislabel even our people. We live in Limpopo, which is not too far from here. Most people in Limpopo would have a piece of land that is no smaller than 15 hectares. On half of that, they will build their own home with bricks and mortar. I live in Bryanston, I have a bond. The other half, they have some cattle for grazing. They have no bond. But I live in Settle, I'm classified as middle class. They are classified as indigent. Again, let's go back to arithmetic. The poorest family in Limpopo is 15 cattle. The last time I slaughtered, it was 5,000 a cow. That's the definition of a combined household income that is middle class. We call them indigent. Imagine for a moment that these parents have sold 3 of their cows to send their daughter to university. They come back and they have a title called doctor, and they're sitting at home unemployed. Can you imagine the mental health issues, the period poverty? I like that you are agitated. It wasn't my intention. Listening to you was a breath of fresh air. It is Henry Royce, Sir Henry Royce, who says, find something that is already excellent and make it better. Is that too much to ask of our leaders? The other Henry T. Ford, who made the Model T Ford, said we must create a car that even our own employees can afford. Because there's a problem when your own employees can't afford the goods and the services that you provide. You see, in this country, Eswatini, so that I can say I mentioned Eswatini once, and South Africa, because we are one people. Black people don't respect borders, because our forebears had no borders. We have to be more than just intentional, deliberate and conscious about improving the quality of lives of the majority of our people. Because that's our raison d'etre. That's the only reason why we exist. So the question I'll ask myself as a South African is, what is it that this once glorious movement, the ANC, can do in coalition with the DA that they on their own could not do with an absolute and unfettered majority? Because the choice of partner is quite thin. first Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Chief Albert Lutu, says, you don't want even your most fiercest enemy and their most weakest to exclude you as a solution. So we had a chance after the 29th of May to look around and say, not you, MK. It's a choice we made, not you, EFF. It's a choice we made. But we smiled and went to the DA, not once, not twice, but many times, to get this marriage of inconvenience. But we chose somebody that we share nothing with. Somebody who has no demonstrable track record of collaborating with anybody, let alone anything. This is the party that don't agree with us on our transformative instruments, all of them. They don't agree with us on employment equity as part of broad-based black economic empowerment. They've taken us to court because ostensibly they say that the minister will have too much powers. But we have too much power. We are 90% of the population. They don't agree with us on the Bella Act. They say for two reasons. One, because they want to retain their language, which is African. And they want their SGBs, school governing bodies, to retain that mission policy so that they don't fill the space with people that look like them. But they are very happy, 49 of them, to get onto a free flight to shores and have their children taught in English in a foreign country. So it can't be a matter of principle. Yeah. They disagree with us. Not on NHI, because as an acronym it sounds like a big word. I'm a simple kind of guy. The 198 countries of the United Nations that have declared apartheid a crime against humanity define universal, equitable access to good quality health care. Who could disagree with us? They disagree with us and they've taken it to court. Here's the last one. They disagree with us on why people went to war. Coming as visitors and they found us, okay, in our own parents' land. They disagree with us on land expropriation without compensation. With the full knowledge that the 1913 Land Act was the 10th land expropriation without compensation against African people. Peter Dief and Gert Marens, the three Afrikaners who led the Voortrekker movement. They write the 10 principles as to why they are leaving the Cape Colony to trek into the hinterland. One of the very first principles they write on these is, we are leaving you the British because you are refusing to continue to take the land that belonged to the Amaxhosa people when our families are growing and our children are getting married. Secondly, they say, we are leaving because you have passed Ordinance 50 that proclaims that all of us are equal before the law, including the Amaxhosa, who are supposed to be high. So I like that we need to focus on scarce and critical skills. But the clarity I was talking about is because we are part of the global south. And we created BRICS, now BRICS Plus, as a countervailing force. And we quote Russia when it suits us, and China when it suits us, but we fail to tell ourselves and internalize that China used to be the biggest economy in the world, so they know what it is like. That's why they're not faced with the president of the United States 2.0 called POTUS, also known as Trump 2.0. Because they know at most he'll be there for 4 years, no more. Effectively 2 years, because after 2 years the primary start, his focus will be starting on an internal conversation in the Republicans as we stand. That's all 2 years. The Chinese know that they've been there for 3,000 years. And all their plans have always been not for the next 36 months or the next quarter as Americans do, but at least for the next 10 years, for the next 50 years. The Great Gorge project was conceived 100 years ago. They are decimating the German motor manufacturers. And look at the companies that are doing that. Most of them, South Korea, but the real ones that are having an impact are Chinese motor vehicles. GWM for the Great Wall Motors, big, BYD. You get the same specs, if not better, as a $2 million car for 800,000. But they got the same engineers who designed those cars, the BMW X7. They are now designing and selling the Haval that looks like an X7. That does exactly what an X7 does for 800,000. But we also fail to say 1.4 billion people in China, but you look at the COC, the central command, it's 30 people. 1.4 billion people, we are 65 million South Africans. Mandela, who gifted us in democracy, had a cabinet of 33. We increased it. But now, in this marriage of convenience, we just increased to 78. There are more deputy ministers than ministers. And we have never had a situation where the minister doesn't wake up in the morning or falls off a bus and then the deputy minister takes off. But you see, the reason why China is going to be the next biggest economy in the world, taking over from the US of A, is because they think clear. They don't stand on the State of the Nation address and rattle through 39 priorities. The Chinese are clear about their problems. They only want one, not two, one. It's called the 1.4 billion people problem. Yeah, sometimes in South Africa when we speak good English, we say we have a triple challenge. Yes, we don't have a triple challenge. Our problem is only one. There are not three, it's jobs. Because when people have jobs, you don't need to give them RDPs. It's the stubbornly high levels of unemployment that give rise to increasing levels of poverty and increasing levels of inequality. The root cause is unemployment, it's jobs. So the Chinese don't care how many minerals you've got. They don't care. They just want to know when they engage, interact, and interface with you, are you helping me to solve the 1.4 billion problem? Tanzania and Zambia didn't have a railway line. And they went to the Chinese. The Chinese says, what do you need? No, we need a railway line. They said, okay, we'll build it for you. And they got Chinese prisoners to build it. Lesotho's Leabua Jonathan wanted to build a head office for their party. They said, what do you need? They said, no, we want to build the Lesotho National Development Center, LNDC. It's still standing today. They said a lot of Chinese people were prisoners to Lesotho. They built, after that they were free. They married Basotho women. Today Lesotho has a lot of Chinese little children. They have solved their problem. What problem have we solved? Can we have just that clarity of thought, that singularity of purpose? That day, can I end now? May I end now?
I'm not the answer.
May I end now? Bitso laka ke Bonang Mohale, ke mokwena mokotedi, ke mogodutswana mogolo, segwasha ka mpafatsa. Wena jaretse lehlabathe ka mfoko. Ya sesa kwena. Ya nyoloha madiba. Tharabodiba ya ithatika ka lemoto. Ya bahaletse. khamu ha tsekela ya qetwa ra ba bona mmala mosweu mpe tsa makwala ha tete ya le la shebo dimo ra ba bona udimo mahana ne gona mo dulang teng mo rena ka khaudana le matshipi le bua la morampo ka nna ke le bana ke re di tsene go fa ke phatlalatsa le na le dia miso le bona ka re ona sisi se khatha makhetha se khethi batho bana ke bana tata ba gana le khale ba utsekisa ke le ni sala mamitsi matshwana la mamitsi madidi metsi a ka thwetha ga itsa dithoro banana ba sala ba tlhoka ka tlhoka ke focus ga ba dithuta le bone o tse mo di tata o hlangole mhlatsa tseleng ho o hlangole phala dishobane tutentse mo di batawle o ka matha wa dilalo tse ba sela shi modimo ayo ke no ba ho ba ha ba ho mo ntimo nya mo tse o sena mohale wa ke le rantani la titi ya banana ba le tumme ba la hlafatsa ba re sa le tshisa mohale na o tshika wa tshika mo kwelo ba se ya wa khama o tshika jalo ka mang ku ke tsa jalo ho ba sa ba ntse ba mpotsa gafetsa bona o hile kae ha e sugule sebakanya a se bule ba o pala mapele le ba ba o ba tseba fihla di koting ka ba ke le bontsha nka khathala kwa le ho di mo ja kwa go di sonka ba ke lumele di tlhakite di lo mo na mme a ntsa no ha lo ha fetse na kana kana ha ila le rona mapala none e tse ntwa ke a madula mmoho ya kae ba ne ntate ta hlele mongwana ke pepule fela e tswe tlala e sitwa nyana ke majantja madimo a ja batho